Sphere at the end of Burma's election campaign, with opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi standing for the first time.
It's my pleasure to welcome.
It has its supporters, but Mali's military junta announces it has no intention of holding on to power after last week's coup. Back on course for the luxury cruise ship adrift south of the Philippines after engine repairs. Welcome to BBC World News. I'm Pooneh Ghoddoosi. Also in this programme, 3 lucky winners share the world's biggest ever lottery prize, $640 million. And they fly through the air with the greatest of ease, so we sent our reporter Mike Bushell to try out freestyle motocross for himself. Hello and welcome. The campaigning is over. It's nearly midnight in Burma, and when the sun next rises in the country, the polls will open for by-elections that will take place in 45 constituencies. The Burmese opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi is standing for office for the first time, despite saying the vote could not be considered entirely free and fair. The BBC's Rachel Harvey is in Rangoon.
It's the little details that count. On the eve of a poll held under unprecedented scrutiny, election officials are keen to make sure everything is in its proper place. The stage now set for the star of the show, Aung San Suu Kyi, dissident activist turned political candidate. She looks certain to win her seat in Parliament, but who else will join her? Rangoon's tea shops are abuzz. Election chatter infused with excitement and a hint of hope. Some foreigners have been allowed to monitor the vote, but it was a late invitation. The European Union team only arrived a few days ago. Not enough time to make a proper assessment, I was told.
We are present for election day and more or less 3 days before elections and possibly about 2 days after elections. So for us it is not enough to do what we would call observation.
Well, given the restrictions that have been placed on you for these elections, was it really worth coming at all?
Absolutely. It is extremely important that these by-elections are taking place, and it is very important that the authorities have opened up to the presence of international community and media. It is very welcome that we all have freedom of movement and access to different polling stations.
The final preparations are being made at this polling station to get it ready for voting tomorrow, and the officials here were quite happy for us to come and see all this. The authorities know that the world is watching, and these elections could change the political dynamic in Burma.
And Rachel Harvey is in Rangoon right now. I spoke with her about how Aung San Suu Kyi had spent the last day of campaigning.
She's made her way from Rangoon here to the constituency Kormu, in which she is standing for this election. She's going to overnight there in one of the villages where the polling stations have been set up. She will spend the morning in the constituency and then head back here to her house to wait out the rest of election day. She's been told to cut back on her original plans because she's still suffering a bit from ill health. She's been exhausted by the arduous campaign. Although she had hoped to stay most of the day tomorrow in Kormu, her doctors have said no, a morning in the heat is quite enough, and then get back home and rest. But yet again, when she set off on that journey, there were thousands of people lining the route. Everywhere she goes, people just want to catch a glimpse of her and to wish her well. So yet again, she's been mobbed by the crowds. She's spending the night, as I say, in a village in Kormu. And here in Rangoon, her party is setting up little arrangements around town. There are musicians, we're being told, that are coming out just to try and encourage people to get out and vote.
Everyone is expecting this will probably be an easy win for her, at least in her own constituency. But it has got the mood of the whole elections quite excited after a while in Burma, hasn't it?
Definitely. There is a sense of excitement, a sense of anticipation, at least here in Rangoon. It's very hard to know exactly what the feeling would be further afield, particularly in the ethnic minority areas where seats are also up for grabs. So here in Rangoon, yes, there is a sense of excitement. In Kormu, in Aung San Suu Kyi's constituency, the outcome seems like a foregone conclusion. But there are real races, real contests elsewhere. This is by no means a done deal. The NLD, Aung San Suu Kyi's party, says it's confident of winning as many seats as it possibly can. It thinks it can win most of the 45 seats up for grabs. But the military-backed USDP party is saying exactly the same thing, that they're confident of winning too. So there could be quite a battle when the voters go to the polls tomorrow. We'll have to wait for the outcome. There will be a sense probably late in the evening tomorrow of how some of these results are coming in, but official results will take a little longer.
And what is the competition doing? Probably it's going to be a tough time for the competition candidates.
Well, the military-backed party, you know, in previous election in 2010, yes, the outside world and pro-democracy activists said that that poll was rigged, that it was unfair from the start, and therefore the military-backed party won a huge majority. So the outcome of this election isn't going to affect the balance of power in Parliament. However, the military-backed party says, look, we're going into this election campaign feeling confident because we've had a year in Parliament, a year to legislate, a year of experience, a year of records that we can put to the voters and say, look, we are the people that have been pushing this reform process. The NLD, Aung San Suu Kyi's party, boycotted in 2010. So they're coming into this with less experience of campaigning, but with a lot of popular support. So it is a pretty tight race in some places, but the NLD is saying, yep, we are confident we can get enough seats in Parliament to at least have something of a platform. And of course, in all likelihood, Aung San Suu Kyi will then have a voice in Parliament, which she says she will use to good effect.
Rachel Halvey there in Rangoon. The military junta in Mali has announced it will quickly come up with proposals aimed at handing back power to civilians after last week's coup. The news comes at the same time as Tuareg rebels have entered a major town in the country's north, armed with heavy weapons. A military camp in the town of Gao has been encircled by the rebels. The move into Gao comes only a day after the rebels took the town of Kidal. Our West Africa correspondent Thomas Fessi outlined the latest on the situation in Gao.
And they are engaging in heavy fighting with the army at the military camp just outside the town. It is going to be a tougher fight, obviously, for them to take over this military camp. One of the rebel commander admitted to me over the phone. Why a stronger resistance on that one? Because it's simply the biggest garrison in the region, and obviously if it falls, that would be the biggest setback so far in the north, and there would be only one major city left in the hands of the army, and that would be the historic city of Timbuktu.
While there's fighting going on that side of the country, in Bamako, there seems there are not that many people holding the power because the military junta leaders are in Burkina Faso making negotiations with the Burkina Faso president. What's going on there?
Well, a delegation of the military junta indeed went to Burkina Faso and met with Blaise Compaoré, the president of Burkina Faso, who's been appointed by the regional bloc ECOWAS as the sort of main mediator in this crisis. And the military junta delegation told reporters just after holding talks with the president that they were in principle okay to restore constitutional order as soon as possible, that they had no will to confiscate power. They wanted to hand power back to the civilians, but they have given no timeline. So in effect, there's nothing much new in what they are saying, because they've always said that. They're saying that it could be tomorrow or it could be in a week time.
The US and Gulf Arab states are demanding a clear timetable for ending the crisis in Syria. They've called on the international envoy, Kofi Annan, to set time limits for the Syrian government to accept his peace plan. This follows a meeting between the US and Gulf countries in Saudi Arabia. There have been fresh opposition reports of killings in Syria during the day. Earlier, the Syrian Foreign Ministry spokesman said the government had defeated attempts to topple it. A luxury cruise ship that was adrift in waters south of the Philippines has been repaired and is continuing its journey. The ship, with some 600 passengers and 400 crew, was drifting after a fire disabled two of its engines. The Azamara Quest was traveling from Manila to the port of Sandakan in Malaysian Borneo when the fire broke out. Kate McGowan has more from Puerto Galera, which is a couple of hours south of Manila in the Philippines.
It seems that the engineers who were on board the ship have been able to do enough repairs to get the power to a point where they can actually move the ship. The fire happened very late on Friday, and although it was extinguished very quickly, both of the engines were disabled because of it. And for many hours, people had absolutely no power at all. There was no air conditioning. There was no kind of refrigeration, nothing for any of the food. They did manage to repair that to at least get some air conditioning and various other things on board, but it now appears that they've been able to repair the system well enough for the ship to actually move and slowly make its way to a Malaysian port.
And what is happening to the people who were injured or had smoke inhalation?
Well, none of the passengers seem to have been injured at all. There was over 600 passengers. Most of them were American or European, and none of them seem to have been injured at all. 5 of the crew members were injured, one of whom was injured seriously. And we've been told that he does need hospital treatment. Obviously, that's going to be the priority for everybody on the ship. I haven't heard any news about this particular man, whether he's been able to be airlifted off the ship or whether the latest plan is for him to be taken to a hospital as soon as it's docked in Malaysia. There are some Philippine ships on their way to try to help this stricken vessel, some Coast Guard ships and Navy ships that are nearing the area now. So hopefully they should be able to provide some sort of help and first aid.
At least 7 people have been killed and more than 50 wounded following a series of bomb attacks in southern Thailand. The provincial capital of Yala was the site of the explosions. Islamic rebels have been blamed for a long-running campaign of violence in Thailand's 3 southern provinces. At least 1 person has been injured in an explosion at a chemical plant in western Germany. The employee at the plant in Marl reportedly suffered severe burns when a tank exploded. 3 other people are missing. Pakistani security forces have reportedly foiled an attack on the country's parliament. Pakistan's Interior Minister Rahman Malik says militants were planning to target a joint sitting of parliament 2 weeks ago during an address by President Zardari. 3 winning tickets have split the record $640 million Mega Millions jackpot in the U.S. An Illinois lottery spokesman said the tickets were bought in the states of Kansas, Maryland and Illinois. Each winning ticket is expected to be worth more than $230 million before taxes. The BBC's Jonathan Blake has this report.
Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is a world record $640 million. Woo!
The waiting was finally over. After 18 weeks without a winner, the historic Mega Millions lottery was drawn.
4 and the final wipe-off for this Friday evening is...
As the balls dropped one by one, the winning numbers were revealed, and millions of people across America with tickets watched in anticipation.
Now, if no one matches all 6 numbers, Tuesday's jackpot could be worth $975 million. Play on, America!
Before the draw, people had queued for hours to buy their tickets. Some crossed state boundaries to find a shop where they could enter the draw. The long odds of winning at 176 million to 1 did nothing to put people off. Just the thought of a cash prize of more than $500 million was enough.
This is a $100 bill that's going to make the $640 million.
The winner or winners of the Mega Millions jackpot will have the option to receive their prize as a lump sum or in annual instalments. They also face the decision to stay anonymous or go public with their win. For everyone else who played and lost, it was a chance in difficult economic times to dream about what money can buy. Jonathan Blake, BBC News, Washington.
You're watching BBC World News. Still to come. They fly through the air with the greatest of ease, so we sent our reporter Mike Bushell to try out freestyle motocross for himself. That's not Mike, by the way. North Korea has accused the United States of overreacting to its plans to launch a rocket next month. A foreign ministry spokesman said Washington's decision to suspend food aid had led to the scrapping of an agreement between the 2 sides in February. North Korea had undertaken to suspend nuclear and long-range missile tests in return for aid. Police in northern Mexico have arrested 8 people accused of belonging to a cult that makes ritual human sacrifices. Prosecutors say the alleged cult members killed 2 10-year-old boys and a woman. An official spokesman in Sonora State alleged the suspects belonged to the Santa Muerte, or Saint Death cult. Cuba's communist government has declared Good Friday, one of the most important days in the Christian calendar, to be a public holiday at the request of Pope Benedict. The Pope made the appeal during his recent visit to the island. Cuba announced the holiday would initially be for this year only. This is BBC World News. I'm Pooneh Ghoddoosi. The headlines. Burma's election campaign comes to a close with opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi standing in Sunday's poll for the first time. Mali's military junta announces it has no intention of holding on to power after last week's coup as Tuareg rebels continue their incursion in the north. The head of Libya's transitional government says a truce has been reached between rival groups near the southern city of Sabha. It comes after a week of tribal clashes, which have killed nearly 150 people. The government says the area is now calm and troops are securing key areas of the city. 6 people have been arrested and more than a dozen websites closed down in China as the government moves to quell rumors about a coup in Beijing. Some microblogging services have also been suspended. The rumors come as China's communist leaders grapple with a genuine political crisis. Michael Bristow reports from Beijing.
Beijing, quiet and peaceful, but over recent days rumours of a coup have whizzed around the internet. These pictures were posted online. Some thought they showed military vehicles in the Chinese capital. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest a coup has taken place. Some photographs weren't even shot in Beijing. But the online rumours persisted, and now the government's taken action. 6 people have been arrested for spreading stories, 16 websites closed down, and microblogging services for hundreds of millions have been suspended. The authorities want the rumours to end, and end now. But they come as China's leaders grapple with a scandal involving this politician, Bo Xilai. He was tipped for promotion when the ruling Communist Party reshuffles its top leaders later this year, but he was sacked, leading to speculation of a split at the top, a fertile time for speculation about a coup.
China is governed by secretive officials who like to use censorship to control public debate. In this environment, it's easy to see how rumours take hold, and these stories about a coup gain some credibility because they come at a time of genuine political crisis here in China. Michael Bristow, BBC News, Beijing.
Severe flooding in Fiji has left at least 2 people dead and forced thousands to flee their homes. The flooding caused by heavy rain in the past few days has also led to the cancellation of international flights. Hundreds of tourists were stranded after a bridge leading to the airport was swept away. 6 people have been killed in a mudslide in the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince. Hundreds of thousands of people have built homes on hillsides around the city since the earthquake in 2010. 2 weeks of heavy rain has triggered repeated flooding and landslides. Let's go over to our sports centre for a look at the latest sports news with Amelia Harris.
Hi there, Pooneh. Indeed, it's time to put your seatbelts on. A thrilling afternoon it was of English Premier League football. Some unexpected results too, as Manchester City missed the chance to go level on points with Manchester United at the top of the table, and Arsenal lost 2-1 at Queen's Park Rangers. A brave Stilian Petrov, the Aston Villa captain, diagnosed with leukemia just 24 hours ago, turned out to Villa Park to watch his side play Chelsea. But despite a furious fight back from Villa, who scored 2 goals in 3 second-half minutes, they were beaten 4-2. Chelsea's goals included 2 from Ivanovic. Everton beat West Brom by 2-0. Victor Anichibi with the second at Goodison Park. Clint Dempsey's opener for Fulham was the first of the weekend as he led his side to a 2-1 win over Norwich. And Manchester City, they fought back from 3-1 down, scoring 2 goals in 1 minute to salvage a 3-3 draw with Sunderland at the Etihad Stadium. Queen's Park Rangers shocked Arsenal by beating them 2-1 at Loftus Road, and Wigan beat Stoke by 2-0. But Wolves' woes continue. They came close against Bolton but lost 3-2. to Spain now, and Barcelona look to further reduce Real Madrid's 6-point gap at the top of La Liga this Saturday. But when Pep Guardiola's side hosts Athletic Bilbao, high-flying in the Europa League this season, they could be 9 points from the league leaders as Jose Mourinho's side play at Osasuna 2 hours earlier. 2 games are underway right now. Real Zaragoza's lead cancelled out by Sporting Gijón shortly before half-time. And in the other live fixture, it is still 0-0. Both those games are at half-time. But at the other end of the table, the Real Madrid manager will be hoping his side can build some more daylight between themselves and second-placed Barcelona.
They fight. They are aggressive. They play direct. They try to create problems to the opponent. They play together with a very good supporter side. It's difficult. It was difficult last season, not just for us, for almost every club that goes to Pamplona.
There were just 2 goals, 2 games even taking place in Italy's top flight. Milan are already a goal to the good thanks to a strike from Robinho as they try and build on their 4-point lead at the top of Serie A. Third place Lazio travel to Parma a little later on in the evening Serie A match. London's Olympic Stadium opened its doors for the first time on Saturday with 5,000 runners given the chance to cross the finish line inside the arena after completing an 8-kilometre run around the Olympic Park. More than 40,000 hopefuls had entered the ballot, and the Queen's granddaughter Princess Beatrice was on hand to officially start the run, which began at London's newest landmark, the spiralling red orbit outside the stadium. Well, the run was the first public event inside the stadium that will play host to this year's London Olympics and Paralympic Games. The runners were cheered on by 12,000 spectators who were also treated to an array of music and dance. Novak Djokovic will meet Andy Murray in the Miami Masters final on Sunday. The world #1 had an easy ride in the semi against Argentina's Juan Monaco, while Andy Murray's opponent, Rafa Nadal, pulled out due to a knee injury. Well, Djokovic took the first set 6-love in just 27 minutes, capitalising on Monaco's numerous unforced errors as he won 24 of 32 points. But the gritty Argentinian took the match into a tiebreak in the second, cheered on by a largely Latin American crowd. The Serbian eventually came out a 7-5 winner. That's all for me at the BBC Sports Centre. Pooneh, it's back to you.
Thank you, Amelia. Now, performing acrobatics while 50 feet up in the air with no safety net would be bad enough, but throw in the fact that you're riding on a powerful motorbike and you have one of the world's most extreme sports. The BBC's intrepid reporter Mike Bushell went along to have a look. Did he have a go, though? What do you think?
They're taking motorbikes to new heights, defying the laws of gravity and belief in a bid to be even more extreme than their rivals. A case of look mum, no hands, quite literally. The most daring and breathtaking freestyle motocross riders in the world have taken to the air this month in Manchester and London as part of the Masters of Dirt series. And this is one sporting activity that seems totally out of reach to us mere mortals.
I know, I guess it's just doing stupid stuff for the entertainment of others, and then now it's turned into a career. So I always like to jump, my BMX and then my dirt bike, and yeah, just one thing led to another. There's always the fear of crashing, but if you're thinking about that, then you are going to crash. You know, you just got to be confident enough to know what you're doing's right, and if you do make a mistake, then you deal with it. You don't think about crashing.
To get more of a feel for it, they asked me to join them. Getting the kit on was a start, at least. But it would have helped to have begun when I was just a little bit younger.
I riding in motocross, I started with 3 years old.
Start with 3 years old?
Yeah, it's my life.
The big jumps are what the British junior supercross champion Harry aspires to when he's old enough. He's still only 11 and isn't put off by anything.
It's just a really good sport, and all my family's done it, so my dad seriously hurt himself, and I've just carried on from him.
It's safer than you think. I mean, you know, Harry's all padded up there, you know, you got your crash helmet and all that kind of stuff. You can't go racing without paramedics and people there, so it's really safe.
Safe enough maybe at Harry's level, but as we entered the arena, with me on a basic pit bike, I couldn't forget something our extreme riders had said to me about doing the jumps.
Yeah, I crashed a fair bit. I've had about 10 knee surgeries and broken 23 bones.
23 broken bones? I wasn't taking any chances then. Well, it's hard enough just climbing to the top of one of these 5-metre ramps, let alone doing it on a bike and at speed. But from the top you get a sense of the jumps they have to face. It's 23 metres from me to the landing strip where you are there. To be honest, the riders normally practice over pits of soft foam first, so I was content following Harry around. Well, this may be more of a ramp, but to me, it's going to get me off my seat. And just being on a bike in the same arena as the guys overhead was an honour. I take my helmet off to them. Mike Bushell, BBC News, Wembley Arena.
And you can get the latest headlines online with our 1-minute news summary. You can watch the news unfold at bbc.com/news. Also on the website, there's more on our top story. The last day of campaigning is drawing to a close in Burma ahead of by-elections scheduled to take place in 45 constituencies. Stay with us on BBC World News.